Well, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Steven here, Northwest Small Batch Brewing. Hopefully I'm not too disheveled. I just had to do a bunch of yard work. You know how it goes, it's that time of year. Got to get it done. Anyway, it is time to crack the first beer of the weekend. So I want to talk about something today called Thiols. Now, Thiols are interesting because there was a fad about a year ago when it came to making hazy IPAs where everybody and their mother wanted thiol powder, Phantasm powder, I think is the little marketing catchphrase they like to use. And it became a huge craze for a very short period of time and is an example of how I understand the reasoning that homebrew stores stuff have to have this marketing stuff. They need to make sales. But a lot of times homebrewers fall for these things that aren't really necessary and don't really do much for you except take money out of your pocketbook. Anyway, so let's talk about thiols because thiols are a real thing. All right. This is going to harken back to biotransformation. Bear with me with the biotransformation. We'll get through all this. First of all, only certain hops with certain yeasts go through biotransformation. In other words, if you have the wrong kind of hop and you don't have what's called a thiolized yeast strain, you're not going to get biotransformation. So I think that's the first thing I see a lot that gets mistaken when it comes to making hazies is people just think that you can put any hop and if you put it in at the right time during fermentation, it will biotransform and give you these extra flavors and exploding fruit and everything. And that's not how it works. Certain yeasts, certain hops, okay? Thiols allow biotransformation, right? I did a video on this, but not long ago, but basically it's converting the molecules, so it's changing them. Biotransformation changes them into something else, and you get these fruity tropical flavors and aromas a lot of times. Now remember what I said, it only works with certain hops. So thiols only work with American hops, or what I call New World hops, and Aussie/Australian. Not that I'm trying to put you both together, but that's that part of the world. Hops. So noble hops, sorry. British hops, sorry. Just doesn't work, right? This is where I was saying that not all hops have the ability to biotransform. So sorry about that, but you're just not going to put your, Tettnanger in a dry hop and expect a biotransformation. It ain't going to happen. I am going to kind of go through a list. I sort of have them off camera here because there's no way I could memorize this for you, but there are basically 4 categories of flavor aroma profiles depending on the hops you use when you do this biotransformation. And I'm getting to that point. I'll try to hurry up here. So the first flavor aroma is a woody, mossy, sort of ripe banana sometimes flavor. This is like Citra hops, Simcoe, Mosaic hops, Galaxy hops. There are others. I'm not going to list them all. Those are the big ones that come to mind. I will say you have to be careful when you're doing biotransformation with these kinds of hops because and you'll know what I'm talking about. I just had a beer the other day and I couldn't put my finger on why it tasted so nasty. And now I know why. I was on a live stream the other day and I opened a beer. I'm not going to say who it was from, but if you saw the live stream, you'll know. And I thought, oh no, this beer is gone. It was a hazy, hazy IPA. I thought, this beer's gone bad. It's, and it was definitely the biotransformation. And what happens is this particular hop, let's say it's Citra, it can turn the wrong way and end up being like cat urine. No joke. I don't even know how to explain it because obviously none of us, I'm assuming, have actually tried cat urine, but it's what you would imagine, it would be like. It's nasty. is nasty. So I can tell you that beer got dumped, which is a shame because it was expensive, you know, as hazies tend to be. All right, number 2 is the flavor aroma grapefruit or passion fruit. I like this one quite a bit. Amarillo, Mosaic, Citra, Cascade, among others, can give this grapefruit or passion fruit flavor when it biotransforms. And yes, there is some overlap. You notice that Citra was in both these categories. Number 3, fruity, floral. This is probably one of the most common ones that people go for because that's what they want, these tropical, fruity, floral. Not so much floral, but you can get some of that with this. Cascade is in this group. Chinook, Citra, Mosaic. And again, like I said, there's more hops in that. I'm just trying to give you a couple examples. And then the 4th flavor compound you can get from biotransformation is like is very floral in the sense it's more like a rose. This one you have to be careful with as well because it can quickly go to perfumey. So you go from floral and rose and delicate to perfumey, and you could actually get citronella, which is not nice in a beer, in my opinion. Citronella, if you're not familiar, it gets rid of mosquito or drives away mosquitoes. It is sort of like vapor rub-ishness. It's not something I really want in my beer. So there's some areas here you have to be careful with the biotransformation because you could get some flavors. I mean, you definitely don't want a citronella cat urine flavor in your beer. You know what I'm saying? What else can I tell you? So when do we dry hop to get this biotransformation to transform these thiols that are in the hops? Well, you want to dry hop at the end of active fermentation because you want the yeast to be super active, but here's the problem. If you put the hops in too soon, all right, if you put them in before fermentation starts or right as soon as you see it, fermentation's going crazy. And initially, fermentation is pretty, wild, and it creates a lot of CO2 right at the beginning. And problem with that is that all the flavors and aromas that it biotransforms are going to get carried away in the CO2. It's going to go right up through your airlock and out into the air. So while it's fermenting, it's going to smell wonderful, and then you go to drink it, and you're just not going to have the flavor and aroma there because it's already gone, right? So you want to wait until just the tail end, right, of that active fermentation. I can't give you a specific time or, frame for that because every fermentation is different, right? It's going to be within the first few days, but exactly when will just depend on your fermentation. This video would go way too long if I had to go through a list of yeasts that are thiolized yeasts, but funny enough, you could go to Google and Google thiolized yeast and get a list. So there you go. So make sure you're using a hop that can biotransform and also a thiolized yeast that can actually do the biotransformation. Without those two things, you're just dry hopping, which is not bad, but it may not be what you're trying to get out of this if you're really trying to do this whole biotransformation. Me personally, I don't mess with it, to be honest with you. It's an interesting idea, but I think it's just too easy to get flavors you don't want to come out of it, which is what happened in that beer I had the other day. Or nothing will happen at all from it. And the other thing is you don't want your hops in there too long or it's going to get vegetal and grassy. So you're still going to have to pull your hops out after a few days that, are going through that biotransformation. At any rate, I put my hops in when I dry hop, usually the last 3 to 4 days of fermentation, and then pull them out or, transfer your beer to another vessel. That's all I have for today. I hope that was interesting if you're not, super familiar with thiols and biotransformation. I'll be back in another week with another video. And until then, thanks for staying till the end. Keep on brewing.